Before I start today, I have a joke for you. The joke says, what's a baseball player's favorite snack? Anybody? Sliders. Ha ha ha. Thanks for the joke of the day, Will. I am on chapter 30, To the Dungeon. Who can give me a character trait of Miggery Sow? Oliver, what would you describe Miggery Sow?
Kind.
Kind? Well, she has been kind to the uncle. Was the uncle kind to her?
No.
Not at all. How would you describe Miggery Sow, Clara?
That she wants to be a princess.
She wants to be a princess. I would say her character trait is she has hope. She has hope that she can someday be a princess. Chapter 30, To the Dungeon. At the castle, for the first time in her young life, Mig had enough to eat. And eat she did. She quickly became plump, then plumper still. She grew rounder and bigger until her head stayed small. Reader, as the teller of this tale, it is my duty from time to time to utter some hard and rather disagreeable truths. In the spirit of honesty, I must inform you that Mig was the tiniest bit lazy. And two, she was not the sharpest knife in the drawer. That is, she was a bit slow-witted. So wait, the author just spoke directly to me and gave me two more character traits for Mig. Lazy. Is that a good character trait to me?
That kind of was I was going to say lazy.
Yeah, she doesn't seem like she wants to work very hard. And not the sharpest knife in the drawer. What does that mean? If you're not very sharp, you're not very thoughtful. You don't think well. You're not very smart. You don't think through things. You don't problem solve. That's not a good quality to have. Because of these shortcomings, Louise was hard-pressed to find a job that Miggery Sow could effectively perform. In quick succession, Mig failed at being a lady-in-waiting. She was caught trying on the gown of the visiting duchess. She failed as seamstress. She sewed the cloak of the riding master to her own frock and ruined both. She failed at a chambermaid. She was sent to clean a room. She stood open-mouthed and delighted, admiring the gold walls and the floors and the tapestries, and exclaiming over and over again, "Gore, ain't it pretty? Gore, ain't it something?" But then did no cleaning at all. While Mig was trying and failing at many of these chores, other important things were happening in the castle. So we've just been given an update on Mig's character traits. Ian, how would you describe Mig now?
Lazy.
Lazy. Clara, how would you describe Mig now?
Not hardworking.
Not hardworking. She's not good at any of the jobs. See, while Mig was trying and failing, the rat in the dungeon below was pacing and muttering in the darkness. He was waiting to take revenge on the princess. And upstairs in the castle, the princess had just met a mouse. The mouse had fallen in love with her. Okay, so are the other parts of the story all coming back together now?
Yeah.
So now we have Mig failing as a servant, Despereaux falling in love with the princess, and Roscoe vowing to get revenge on the princess. Will there be consequences? You bet! Just as Mig's inability to perform any job well had its consequences. For finally, at the last resort, Louise sent Mig to the kitchen, where Cook had a reputation involving dealing with difficult help. In Cook's kitchen, Mig dropped eggshells in the pound cake batter. Do you want eggshells in your cake batter?
No.
Scrubbed the kitchen floor with cooking oil instead of cleaner. What would cooking oil do to the floor?
Ruin it.
Make it slippery. And she sneezed directly in the king's pork chop moments before it was going to be served to him. Is sneezing in the king's pork chop sound like a good idea?
No.
Not in today's germy world. Of all the good-for-nothings I've encountered, shouted Cook, you are the worst, Mig. You are the worst cauliflower-eared good-for-nothingness. There is no place left for you. The dungeon. Eh? Said Mig. There's a picture of Cook saying there's only one place left for you. The dungeon. Oh my. You're being sent to the dungeon. You are to take the jailer his meal. That will be your duty from now on. Okay, now reader, you know the mice of the castle feared the dungeon. Must I tell you? Humans feared it too. Certainly it was never far from their thoughts. In the warm months, a foul odor rose out of the depths, and it permeated the whole castle. What's an odor?
Smell.
A bad stench or a bad smell. And in the cold nights of the winter, terrible howls came from the dark place, as if the castle were weeping and moaning. It's only the wind, the people of the castle would assure each other, nothing but the wind. Many a servant girl had been sent to the dungeon, bearing the jailer Gregory's meal, only to return weeping, hands trembling, teeth chattering, insisting they would never go back. And worse, there were whispered stories of those servant girls who'd been given the job of feeding the jailer, who'd gone down the stairs into the dungeon, and who had never been seen or heard from again. Do you believe that will be Mig's fate? Do you?
No.
Gore. I hope not. I mean, what kind of story would this be without Mig? Listen, you color-flowered-eared fool, shouted the cook. This is what you will do. You will take a tray of food down to the dungeon. You will wait for the old man to eat the food, and then you will bring the tray back up. Do you think you can manage this? I reckon so, said Mig. I take the old man the tray, he eats what's on it, and I bring the tray back up. Empty it would be then. I bring the empty tray back up from the deep downs. That's right, said Cook. Seems simple, don't it? I'm sure you'll find a way to bungle it. What's it mean, I'm sure you'll find a way to bungle it?
Like, to take it?
To mess it up. That's her way, that's the author's, or the cook's way of saying, I'm sure you'll mess this up too. Eh? Said Mig. Oh, nothing, said Cook. Good luck to you. You'll be needing it. She watched as Mig descended the dungeon stairs. They were the very same stairs, reader, that the mouse Despereaux had been pushed down the day before. So Despereaux has just been sent to the dungeon. Roscoe is down there. And Mig has just gone down to take Gregory his meal. Unlike the mouse, however, Mig had a light. See, on the tray with the food, there was a single flickering candle that showed her the way. She turned on the stairs and looked at Cook and smiled. Cauliflower-eared, good-for-nothing fool, said Cook, shaking her head. What's to become of someone who goes in the dungeon smiling, I ask you? Reader, for the answer to Cook's question, you must read on.